We have NFL Week 1 recap. So first we're going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This was banner night for the Philadelphia Eagles. I definitely thought the Philadelphia Eagles was going to come out and straight dominate from the kickoff, and that wasn't the story. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys actually came out and played a very good game. CeeDee Lamb, when the game first started out, CeeDee Lamb was making really good receptions downfield. They were moving the ball with Javonte Williams. This was definitely a highly competitive game. On the opposite side of the football, we had Jalen Hurts, who was using his legs. Philadelphia wasn't, actually passing the ball downfield to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith in the passing game. It was a rushing game for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they were able to capitalize. Now, late in that game, the Dallas Cowboys had an opportunity to score and actually take over the game and win the game. And when it actually counted, CeeDee Lamb came up a little short. Now, being a star player, these are the type of moments that you want to capitalize on, being that guy. These are the moments late in the playoffs that's going to matter because you're one and done. You got to get the job done. But shouts out to the Philadelphia Eagles on their first home win of the season. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Now we have Jim Harbaugh in his second year in the NFL. And I think he's definitely gave Justin Herbert some confidence. Justin Herbert commanded that offense. They were moving the ball around. They had the rookie Hampton in the backfield. He did pretty well as well. Now, KC, we saw that Xavier Worthy got hurt with an injury. KC looked kind of stagnant on offense, wasn't really moving the ball well, as I would say. But however, during the end of the game, they looked like they were trying to get things back moving and try to come back for a victory. However, Justin Herbert took things in his own hands, and he ended that game. And we got to give props to the Los Angeles Chargers for that victory. Now, moving on to the Tampa and Atlanta game. This was a thriller, division rivalry between the two, and Atlanta was on their home turf. So this game actually went back and forth like we thought it would. Baker Mayfield doing what Baker Mayfield does, hitting the rookie downfield in Buka from Ohio State. He looked it very well. And it came down to tying the game. It was 23-20, and the game was on Young Ho Koo. And he missed that field goal, and they couldn't go into overtime, so Tampa actually got the edge in that game, 23-20. Shouts out to Tampa for getting the first victory on the road. Moving on to Cincinnati and Cleveland. This game was a shocker. I actually thought Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins was going to take control from the beginning of the game. They were going to run the scoreboard up, but Cleveland had something else to say about that. They played pretty good defense, and also came down to the end of the game where they actually could have won this game. I was shocked. I looked to see the Cincinnati Bengals play a little better coming down the stretch, but shout outs to Cincinnati for getting it done. Now, moving on to the next game, we have Miami Dolphins versus the Indianapolis Colts. So we have Daniel Jones, who actually was traded during the offseason to the Indianapolis Colts and won the job over Anthony Richardson. I definitely didn't see this coming. But Daniel Jones looked really well against the Dolphins, led his team to a victory. We saw Tua actually with the turnovers, and the Dolphins didn't look too good. I don't know what's going on in Miami, but they definitely have to clean it up if they plan on having either 500 or a winning season going forward. But we have to give the shots and props to Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts for that win. Now, moving on to Arizona and the New Orleans Saints. So we know that the New Orleans Saints was in search for a starting quarterback, which they picked Spencer Rattler. So the New Orleans Saints actually was hanging in there with the Arizona Cardinals. We saw Marvin Harrison Jr. look pretty well with a deep ball and also caught a touchdown during this game. And late in the game, that the Saints had an opportunity to tie this game to bring it to overtime, but a touchdown was missed. And we're gonna give shots to the Arizona Cardinals for getting one victory on the road for season opener. Now moving on for the Pittsburgh Steelers and also the New York Jets. We have Aaron Rodgers and also Justin Fields. We're going to call these guys, they were trading places. And this was a highly competitive game. They were going back and forth, score for score, score for score. And it just came down to when the Jets made a turnover, the Steelers was able to capitalize on that and kept the lead. And also at the end of the game, they were able to seal the lead with that last tackle. We're going to give shouts out to the Pittsburgh Steelers on the season opener. Now moving on to the New York Giants versus the Washington Commanders. With Jalen Daniels' second season in the NFL, we definitely was looking forward to this. Starting off the game, they looked like they were division opponents. They were competing and things like that. So slowly as the game progressed, we kind of seen Washington slowly pull away, and they came along with the victory. Shouts out to Washington for the home field win for the season opener. Now moving on to Carolina and Jacksonville. Jacksonville straight put it on Carolina on the season opener. I think Carolina has some work to do over there if they plan on winning a few games this year. Jacksonville look like they're pretty good. We had Travis Etienne go for 100 yards rushing in that game. He did pretty well. Shouts out to Jacksonville Jaguars to get this season opener win at home. And moving on to the Tennessee versus the Denver Broncos. We had Cam Ward making his rookie debut, right? And I thought Cam did pretty good as a rookie. Defense were pretty good on both sides. They were battling. We had Tony Pollard for the Tennessee Titans. He did pretty well toting the ball. Calvin Ridley had a few drops. He got to tighten up as a veteran. We had Bo Nix, him connecting with Cortland Sutton for a touchdown. They were doing their thing. It was a low-scoring game, but we have to give it to the Denver Broncos for their season win. And moving on to the San Francisco and the Seattle game. This was another division slaughter. You know, this was a division competition game. It came down to the wire, where you had Brock Purdy. You know, he scrambled out late in the game, found this guy in the end zone. And they were able to get that win over Seattle. But both ball clubs looked pretty good. And McCaffrey really shocked me, you know, being that he was suffering an injury to his calf. I didn't see nothing that states that McCaffrey was suffering from some form of injury. He looked at 100% playing out there. Shouts out to San Francisco for getting the win on the road. And we had the Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers. So we were able to see Detroit without their two coordinators, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this made a huge impact on the Detroit Lions or not. I just don't want to make that judgment just based on one game, but you have to give props where props are due. The Green Bay Packers look like they are for real. And I mean the passing game, the running game, the defense is solid. They're looking like Super Bowl contenders compared to what we're seeing in week 1. Don't want to run off with that, but that's what it's looking like in week 1. All right. So shouts out to the Green Bay Packers for getting it done at home. And moving on to the Houston Texans versus the Los Angeles Rams. And this was a game. It was going back and forth, and it just looked like at some point the Rams defense was just pounding on the Texans. You know, they turned the ball over, and old Matt Stafford was able to get the job done. And so shouts out to Los Angeles Rams for getting the job done at home. And we're moving along to the Sunday night blockbuster between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. Now, let me say this. It's something Josh Allen owns the Ravens for some odd reason. Now, let me tell you, the Baltimore Ravens looked amazing out there. Derrick Henry had almost 150 yards rushing before halftime. What a touchdown. They were actually dealing with Buffalo on all levels. Then all of a sudden, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills turn it all the way around. Then Derrick Henry fumbles the ball. Derrick Henry is efficient, possibly a Hall of Fame back. And he turned the ball over in the pivotal moment of the game. And these are certain things that you have to be very aware of and you have to correct. Because like when playoff time come, like I said with CeeDee Lamb, not actually catching those late balls to actually give his team an opportunity to win the game. It's just like for Derrick Henry, late in the game, pivotal moment, you cannot fumble that ball. You could do well all game, but it's certain things in football and during the game we call pivotal moments. And that matters more than what you actually produce the whole game, because it could be the determining factor between a win and a loss. And that's what happened. He put the ball on the ground. They got the ball. They were already was shifting momentum. And they went in and they did what they did on their home field, and they got the win. Shouts out to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills for getting the win on their season opener. Now we're moving along to the Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. Monday Night Football. Let's do it. We headed to Chicago. So starting off, we have Caleb Williams. And Caleb Williams looked like, this is my second year, and I'm going to get the job done. He did pretty well. First half, Chicago had the lead. Looked like they kind of put the game away a little bit. And, J.J. McCarthy just couldn't get it going. J.J. passed under 50 yards for the first half. J.J. just wasn't it at all. Justin Jefferson, he couldn't get him the ball. Couldn't get the running game going. Nothing was working for Minnesota. And then after the half, something just clicked. They were pressuring Caleb Williams. It was punt. And on their side of the ball with Minnesota, they started connecting downfield. J.J. McCarthy started looking better as he progressed. I don't know what the halftime lecture was like, but it was magnificent because he started looking even better. And they turned that around, and they took the win. They took the win on the road in Chicago. Shouts out to the Minnesota Vikings for getting that season opener, for getting that win on the road for your season opener. And so that's my take of week 1. I would say my best teams coming out the NFC for week 1 would definitely be Green Bay. My top team coming out the AFC for week 1, you have to say Buffalo. that's just what it is for right now. Thanks for tuning in to 24/7 Football Huddle.